At this time, we're going to call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
This is a regular meeting of the Hendry County Board of County Commissioners being held Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the City Commission Chambers in Clewiston, Florida. In attendance are Chairperson Emma Byrd, Vice Chair Mitchell Wills, Commissioner Emery Howard, Commissioner Raymond Iglesias, Commissioner Michael Atkinson, County Attorney Matt Rollerson, County Administrator Jennifer Davis, and Deputy Clerk Sharon Congleton.
Thank you. Welcome to Henry County Board of County Commissioner. If you have a device, we ask that you silence them, please. Also, the first thing up is bids.
Everyone read this? Madam Chair, motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Will, second by Commissioner Howard. I think that was you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. The
Thank you.
agenda.
Motion to approve consent?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wills and second by Commissioner Atkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. We do understand that it's warm in here to y'all that likes it. It doesn't bother me, so. So, we going into public hearings. At this time, we going to the in local agreement. Mr. Matt?
Chair Matt Rollerson, County Attorney for the record. This A is the fuel tax interlocal agreements. By statute, they're required to have a public hearing. They've agreed to keep the status quo with respect to the allocation for the City of LaBelle and City of Clewiston on the distribution of the 2-cent fuel sales tax.
This is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishes to speak at this time? Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Wills. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands.
Chair, this is the item B is the 6-cent fuel tax. It's the same situation, a distribution, interlocal distribution between City of LaBelle and City of Clewiston. It's the status quo.
Once again, this is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishes to speak at this time?
Make
Madam
a,
Chair.
go ahead.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve option one.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Howard, second by Commissioner Iglesias. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. Thank you so much. At this time, we have Ryan Alexander, Planning and Community Development.
For the record, Ryan Alexander, Director of Planning and Community Development for Hendry County. LDC 25-0001 is a LDC amendment to allow for shipping containers to be used as an accessory use structure in certain situations. We have talked through this a couple times now. I sent out maps earlier in the week that showed option one of having parcels with at least 1 acre, and then option two with parcels of at least 3/4 of an acre. So the difference would be anything over 1 acre is permitted to have a 40-foot container. Anything under 1 acre is permitted to have a 20-foot container. And then the same thing for 3/4 of an acre. Anything over it would be allowed to have a 40-foot. Anything under would be allowed to have a 20-foot. In talking to Commissioner Howard, he also wanted to accept out some additional areas. I just handed out the sheets of paper with the different options on it. So option 1 and 2 are the same that were presented at the last board meeting. And then option 3 and 4 have the same verbiage, but just carves out a couple areas that were of concern to Commissioner Howard.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just to add to option 4, in that discussion, I did spend time talking to constituents that live along the Caloosahatchee River. And so what we did is Ryan and I met. We looked at the HOAs that are in western Hendry County, and we went through and got all of those, and including the north and south side of the river, from Fort Denode Road to the river and from County Road 78 to the river, being excluded. I do support the folks that would like to have these. There are some areas, though, I believe that there should be some restriction on.
Is that a motion?
No, I was just giving an explanation on option 4.
This is a
Madam
public
Chair.
hearing. Excuse me.
In Montura, the white lots, what are those not, are those zoned commercial, or why are those excluded?
Pull up my Montero.
Bunch down Pine Cone,
Yeah, the right there in the middle, those are commercially zoned lots. That's commercial area, and then same thing on that frontage.
okay. All right, and Hooker's Point, I think needs to be taken out as well. There's, not very many spots that's,
Okay. So in addition to the
Parameter.
list presented at Hooker's Point,
yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Commissioner Wills, I was under the understanding we're not voting on this tonight. It's got to come back to us. Is that correct?
we can vote on it tonight if we can if we can agree on the carve-out areas. But I would be bringing the petition back to be signed to the chair.
So is there anything else that you all feel that should be carved out? Besides, I think we just said Hooker's Point and part of.
What about in the front of Pioneer? It's that little community. It's cut off in by
Greenwood
itself.
Acres?
Greenwood Acres. That's all red. Is that an HOA?
It is an HOA that over that area, but I didn't have any feedback from anybody saying they didn't want it in there.
Okay.
I can carve that out if that's
But I think their documents, the way it's wrote, will exclude that
Of the
area
HOA.
if they want.
if they
to
want
not
to
allow
exclude
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think with that language in there, I think we're good. Give them the
But if they
opportunity
allow it, it
to
already.
do it themselves.
Yes, because if they allow it, it already give the sizes,
Yep.
so, yeah,
Madam Chair?
yes.
Well, if we have that opportunity to go to a vote tonight, then I'd like to make a motion, we accept option 4, including the carve-outs that Commissioner Atkinson just brought to us.
So that would be Greenwood, and that'll be Hooker's Point.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Wills. And this is a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to speak concerning this matter?
Madam Chair, for clarification, it was Commissioner Howard that made the
Howard.
motion. He looks like an Iglesias, so he don't have much hair, but,
No hoblo.
Motion by
Espanol.
Commissioner Howard. All in favor?
aye.
Motion stands.
Prepare option 4 then and bring it back to be signed. Thank you.
Thank you. Testing, okay. At this time, we are going to staff report.
Okay, for the record, Shane Parker, County Engineer. This item I have for you is application for federal grant assistance for replacing the rotating beacon and tower project at Everglades Airport. I'd like permission to submit that application, sign all the necessary paperwork as usual, but this does include the transfer of $85,238 in AIG funds from LaBelle Airport to Everglades, where we, on the previous motion you made to cancel, reject the bids. I don't want to lose those entitlement funds, so I want to transfer them over to Everglades.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Howard. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. MSBU trim. Ms. Parker?
Okay, we had some discussion on MSBU, and I printed you out a large sheet of what the rates are as they exist. I highlighted in yellow what the rates were that changed last year. And the only rates that are changing would be East Rec, and then we talked about West Fire. Unless there's another rate that you want to change, staff's proposing everything else remain the same. So, I guess, are you okay with everything else remaining the same outside of fire and rec right now?
Commissioner?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
since this is a not to exceed, we can always come back.
Yes, sir, you
So
can.
I'm good with West Rec for now, but I do want to revisit that.
You want to revisit
As
rec?
far as the same conversation as who's, what are we paying proportionate to what actually have in recreation? So I'm good with setting the rate there for everyone tonight, but that's what it's gonna be. But I'd like to be able to come back when we have an opportunity to look at this, as we talked about the different zones,
Right.
and revisit that. So
Do
I'm
that.
good with what's at now, but I do want to make sure that we can always come back.
Okay, but you're talking about looking at the possibility adjusting the rates before September 9th of this year.
That is
Okay.
correct.
Okay. So I need a motion.
Well,
We do
But we
need a
gotta get a
motion?
rate on the
No.
fire and
So-
the East Rec.
He said everything's the same.
is
except-
everything,
Have to have separate motions for each MSBU.
we could do that. We could do that for the, does that motion including everything but fire and rec?
Well, I thought everything was changed, was staying the same except that. So I was just, that was what it was
Yes.
bundled into that, what's not changing. That's
Okay.
what I was talking about.
We can do that.
So you got a motion, I'll second his motion.
Now, what are you motioning, that everything stays the
The
same?
ones that stay the same,
Except for the fire and rec?
and we're about to talk about those.
Okay, and we'll talk about those. Motion by Commissioner Wills, second by Commissioner Iglesias, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands.
Okay, thank you. Now, Chair, East Rec,
Okay.
what would the board's pleasure be for setting the rates? I've heard you all in the workshop say 151 for Harlem, 120 for everywhere else but Central County, and Central County at 45, and then there was other discussions, but,
It was 151, 120, and 45.
right, 45 Central County Water Control District,
That
which is
was
Montour Ranch
1, 2.
Estates, 151 for Harlem, 120 for everything else in East Recreation.
Not to exceed.
That's not to exceed. You can change them up on September 9th. You can go down, you can't go up.
Okay. So I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Atkinson, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands. Okay. Is that
And
it?
then fire, it's based on what Mr. Stevens presented. And then you'll look in your, in the same handout, there's several different categories for fire. I don't know if there's just residential is what you're wanting to change for West Fire, but you have vacant residential, single family, duplex, triplex, apartment, vacant mobile homes, RVs, improved, vacant commercial, industrial. There's a whole list, keeps going down.
If I may,
Yes.
so to try to drive the conversation, so you could choose to leave the rates the same. That would be one option. Another option, and with that option, understanding that there's about $1.2 million in reserves projected at the end of this year, with the understanding that we could work towards the real 5-year rolling average of where the city of LaBelle is today. Potentially in the current year, it would obviously be brought back to the board for more discussion with the existing funds that we have, and continue on that conversation after we get input from the city of LaBelle, because we don't have the input from the city of LaBelle. Another option would be if you wanted to go ahead and increase the rates now for a not to exceed, you could do that and then come down in September. But it's hard to do that because we don't know what the city of LaBelle is looking at. And to Shane's point, looking at the residential, the study only contemplated the residential rates. And so I asked Ian, and it's technical, but what I asked Ian to do, he's got a spreadsheet ready. If you so chose to do that, whatever that rate would be, he can plug in whatever that percentage increase is, and then we would look to increase all the different categories at that same rate, because you got commercial, you have industrial, you have square footage charges per acre, vacant, all that. And so it's there's quite a bit of calculating that has to occur to come up with these rates, and being that you have to do it tonight, we're prepared to do that if the conversation goes there, but, just for the board's consideration.
But if that's the case, then we have the opportunity to have the not to exceed. Remember, if not, we're stuck with it. So, I will say that after I met, we had our meeting yesterday with the consultant, I felt like, it was professionally done, but we need to dig into the numbers. So to buy some time, I don't see an issue with having a not to exceed number. What that number is, I don't know if it's Plan 2 or Plan 3. I know that you're wanting to get to Plan 3, Brent, which is 225.62 from 8302. That's a $142.60 increase, but I think what it does, it buys us the time to dive into it, and that way it's not too low. It's where he wants to be, not necessarily you're going to get it. I'm just saying it just gives us the opportunity for further discussion and more time.
Madam Chair, I agree with that because I really want to see what the numbers are, and I want to have a little more time. I don't want to do a knee jerk.
Correct.
So I'd like to do the same thing. I'd like to even run those numbers, and we can always come down from there. So if that's a motion, Commissioner, I'm going to support you.
I'll make that motion.
For
I'll
Plan,
second
Plan 3,
Plan 3, the 225.62.
Yeah, not to exceed. Then we can look at the numbers and bring it down to where we're going to land.
So for the people in the public to understand, when we set trim notices, they have it's a time certain that we have to send the notices out to the constituents and taxpayers of Hendry County. Unfortunately, with the budget, it takes time to dive into those numbers. So we set a not to exceed number, which means we can't go any higher, but we darn sure can go lower, and we've done it. I mean, since I've been on the board, we've done it, I think, every year. So I know I hate the process. I hate the Facebook comments of people going on and getting their tax bill and griping about that. But the final numbers are not set now. They won't be set till what, September?
right?
And it gives us 3.5 months to really dive into those numbers and break down what these consultants came up with and reevaluate the dollars that we do have to make sure that the decisions that we do make are sound decisions that better serve this community, or this county.
And I agree with that, Commissioner. Here's the thing, I'd love to get around 2, maybe even a little lower. I'd love that.
Yes.
But I don't want to get in a situation that we get there and now we can't do anything.
Yeah.
So I think the higher number setting, and gives us, like you said, gives staff time to take these numbers, say, this is what we have, this is what we can work with, this is reality. And if we land on 2, we land on 2. If we land a little lower, we land a little lower.
Yeah.
But at this point, at least we have the opportunity to drill into these numbers and see what it's actually going to end up at.
Yeah, if we end up with Plan 1, that's a $72 increase. And granted, it's a year increase, and a lot of people can't afford that.
Right.
But the services that they have to provide, I can tell you this from what I deal with, and Jason, you might agree, volunteerism isn't where it used to be. And so with that comes a cost. And unfortunately, it takes us to make those decisions, to make the right decisions. I'm not telling you I'm fully committed to Plan 3, Brent. What I'm telling you is we have a not to exceed number of that 225.62 till we can dive into those numbers.
Madam Chair, so is that something that you have prepared for tonight, Ms. Davis?
He's putting the numbers in now.
If you'll give us just
We
one
got
second.
time. We ain't got to vote right now. We got time.
I've got a couple questions.
Okay.
The $1.2 million, is that county reserves or is that City of LaBelle reserves? That's just the
County.
county reserves.
But I think I think, what did they say, 3 years and it can gobble that up. I mean, we're not,
Yeah. We got to keep in mind too, just because that's in the pot, don't mean we need to pour it out.
correct.
We
Yeah.
got to be very, very mindful of what we do with the tax dollars we use, so
Yeah.
that's.
Madam Chair.
And I'll,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And go back to the point from the workshop that we need to look at the Feld of the Pioneer, just to kind of see where that lands, to make sure that, everybody's getting their portionate share, and that we're not just straight across the board, because there are different services. And I know y'all have to go to Pioneer, Montura, and help, all the time, especially this year with the fires that we had, and it's very much appreciated. So I just want to make sure it's,
While they're looking at that, let me ask a question on mutual aid. So whenever there's a call in Montura that the city of Clueston goes to, city of LaBelle goes to, the Montura Fire Department, is that considered mutual aid?
Yes, sir.
Okay. what warrants that call? Like, what justifies that call that, I mean, how often do you go out there and go, man, they didn't need us, why'd they call us? Like,
It is very rare that we are called to help another entity where we're not used.
okay,
Right.
where does that call get dispatched from?
It comes from our dispatching center that is out of the annex in Port LaBelle.
Okay.
It goes out to, if it's in the Monterey area, it would come to Monterey Fire Department. Right? If Monterey Fire Department responded and said this is something large that we would need assistance, they will then in turn call another department in the East District, that is Clewiston Fire.
And you have literally minutes to make that decision.
That is correct, right? And so that Pioneer, Felda, and Monterey are all the same, right? That's what warrants the call. If Clewiston or LaBelle request mutual aid from each other, or depending on what is needed from possibly a county entity, it's got to be made in either it's pre-planning, which you know you're going to need the help right away. Right now, our 3,000-gallon tender is currently at the shop, so we do not have one. So our pre-planning says if we get this fire, we are going to automatically call without even thinking about it and get it coming to us. In the fire service, we would rather get turned around than you to call us 10, 15, 20 minutes late.
Commissioner Howard.
Madam Chair, thank you. Chief, talk to us a little bit about the ladder truck that's coming. And I'm bringing that up because we've approved certain PUD amendments that will require the ladder truck to be able to respond. But right now, currently, when you put that truck in service with the manning you have, talk to us about how that would or would not work.
So let's go back. We're getting a 2025 Pierce 107-foot stick. It doesn't have a bucket on, it's just a straight ladder. We were able to procure it through state appropriation for just a little bit under $2 million. When that truck arrives, we are currently in the training stage with all of our personnel to be certified to drive that truck. We are going to certify 12 people in about a month. This truck should arrive between August and September, and it will need a minimum staffing of 3 people on it. The reason I say 3 and not 2 is because the truck can go anywhere you want it to go, and you can fly that ladder anywhere you want it to fly. The second that someone needs to climb it, the truck warrants 3 people. So you can drive it around all day with 2. You can put it in the air and spray water with 2. NFPA and all the other OSHAs and that are going to say the second that that person touched that first rung, there better be 3 people dedicated to that truck.
Okay.
So how many buildings do you have that would require a ladder truck in LaBelle?
So what has happened, unfortunately, ISO, which is part of your homeowner's insurance, right? They do a calculation on each fire department. Once your fire district or fire area hits 5 facilities over 32 feet, it warrants a ladder instantly. On our current ISO, which is into 2022, and our goal is as soon as we get the ladder retest again to get our insurance rate lower and our number lower, we were already at 9. And now the last conversation I had, we're at 12.
Does ISO not calculate whether or not they have fire suppression within that building?
That is not calculated. If you're familiar with the downtown area of Lee Street, all the 3-story apartments that just went in, the Beck,
Yeah.
everything off J.C. Lyons Drive, and there's 3 over there as well, so there's 6 immediately. The courthouse would equal 7. Port LaBelle, half of it's ours. The Oxbow Port LaBelle Inn, that's 8, and that's just your small commercial. Parapets count as well. So if it goes up over 32 feet and then comes back down, it still counts as that highest point.
So you're officially considered no longer volunteer, correct? Your
We are a
department?
combination department. So we have volunteers and we have full-time firefighters. That's how we are able to provide multiple mutual aid facets where we can send a truck out anywhere you want it to go and still backfill our station and be ready for the district, the LaBelle Fire District, to respond immediately as well.
Thank you. I believe Ian's ready now.
So we calculated the percentage increase, and it's 172%. So what we would do is we'd take that percentage across each category, and if Ian, I think for the record, because these are new, Matt, I think he should read each category into the record. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, if you'll.
Evening, Commissioners. Ian Proverbs, Budget Director, for the record. This would be the assessment codes 72, and starting with the duplex apartment. Am I just reading
Just
the new
read,
rate?
yeah, just read the
Old rate?
the
new rate?
category and the rate.
Okay. So 72 DA duplex would be, a new rate is 142.88. 72 IM, which
Hang on one
is,
second, Mike.
But
no, I beg your pardon.
I'm not where you're at.
Okay, I
If
see.
you look at that line sheet, it's on the paper.
My pen wasn't right. So the first number, sir, was
142.
142.78.
88.
88.
Are you on the same line item now, which?
72 IM, which
Okay.
is fire mobile home. That will go to 142.88.
And the current is
The-
3049? No, the current is 80, or 62, $63, is that what the current is?
No, the current is 52.53.
52, but that's, so there's not combined? All right, per parcel, per dwelling, I got you.
Right.
Okay.
The PP or readiness, that will go to 82.93.
Hold on one second, what that line item?
Well, I don't see the line item.
That's the red fire readiness, 72 PP.
Yeah, it's not, we're not in the same order, right? Okay, I
No,
just
his
thought I was
spread,
doing-
his spreadsheet is not, you're looking on here, correct?
Yep.
I don't see a 72.
If
And
you
I-
give us the
So-
name, we can follow, but
Why
if you
don't we
give us
do it this way? I'll read it out, and you say what it is.
There you go.
How about that?
All right.
Okay. Vacant residential
Okay,
per parcel rate is going from $30.49 to,
You say vacant?
yes.
Vacant residential,
Vacant
72
residential.
VR.
70, yes.
74 VR.
Nope. Vacant residential, 72 VR.
You don't have it like that.
No.
You have it as the readiness, the
I used-
3049.
I use the property appraiser's sheet.
All right,
I
so,
just picked it up that
So
way.
from the 3049 rate, what does
Okay.
that rate go to?
82.93.
8293. So everywhere you have the 3049, which is on your sheet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 places, it's gonna go to 8293.
everything vacant.
Not really.
no, because
Um,
RV park
Not
sites,
all of it. See right here?
I guess
No,
would
because
technically.
the
Mobile
rates
home.
have two different
Improved mobile
components
home.
to them.
Park lots.
All right.
Okay.
Right, per parcel. And then the 40 cents per acre,
Goes to $1.09.
per acre. And that is for vacant residential, that is for vacant mobile home park lots, that is for vacant commercial and industrial,
How much?
$1.
and that is for vacant acreage in general. All those 40 cents per acre go to $1.09. The single family per dwelling, the 5253 goes to
142.88.
and that is for single-family, duplex, triplex, et cetera, improved mobile home park lots. The $1.43 for RV sites goes to,
$3.89.
the $20 and 65 cents per ERU for improved commercial industrial up to 10,000 square feet goes to,
I have not calculated that, not for the 172%.
it's not on there.
No. When I did this, I was told to keep
Okay, so-
commercial off.
To keep commercial off,
It was only
Oh.
for this,
it should be the same all the way around. So we've got to do with 171% for that, or 72% for that. Is it 171 or 172?
172.
172. So that would be,
142.88, right?
so the 2065 would go to 5617.
So can we stop 1 second?
Yes, sir.
So that's at 100 and, what was it, 170?
172%.
172%. So, with that being said, that's at the 225.62, correct?
It is close. It's 225,
62
yep.
is Plan 3.
You're not gonna get much of a savings out of Plan 2 then. If I'm looking at it correct,
Cause Plan 2 is 195,
not that much of a difference.
195, 72.
This came to 225.81, actually.
For Plan 3, if you calculate.
That's the
this-
closest we could get rounding to 1%. It was 20 cents different. So you want to look at the 195?
I'm just curious. Yes, ma'am. I'd actually like to look at,
Okay.
while we're sitting here, I know it's not cool in here, and I apologize, everyone, but this is gonna affect some folks the way they live, and we need to be very cognizant of that when we make decisions. To some of us in here, maybe that's not a big increase, but for some of us, it's a huge increase.
I
So,
believe that's 136% increase in,
2 is 136.
if you look at that.
Okay. Okay. And I do have that for the commercial
That
as
is
well.
136% increase, and you've plugged that in. So.
That comes to $195.93.
That's Plan 2.
Yes,
Okay.
What line item
that
is
would be Plan 2.
What line item?
That was the $195 that you were just asking about.
51 cent, correct.
Well, I got it to 93 cents, sorry.
I'll just, to make sure I'm in the same place you are, is all I'm
Yes.
asking, yeah. Okay.
So I have those numbers if, as you wish.
Are you guys ready for that?
Yes, sir.
So
Please.
instead of the 3049, going to 8293, it would be what?
71.96.
74?
71.96.
71.96.
Okay, sorry. I can't hear, I apologize.
That's all right.
The 40 cents an acre would be
94 cents an acre.
the $1.43 per site would be
$3.37.
the, well, you don't have it here, but I can, 2065 times,
52, 52.
Oh, the 2065, that's $48.73
okay,
for the commercial.
48.
That's the duplex? Jennifer,
I'm sorry?
is that the duplex?
No, that was the initial rate of $20.65 for the commercial.
That was the
That would go to
commercial,
$48.73.
73.
Okay.
So those would be all the changes of the rates.
So, what's, the single family now? 3049?
Would be $71.96.
What does the 5253 go to?
123.97.
123.9.
123.97.
If you took the 123.97 and add it to the 71.96,
That's
it's the 195.93.
correct.
It is 123.97.
I like the 195 better now.
195 now?
I'm saying, no, I'm saying I like this Plan 2 better than I do
Well,
that.
yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of savings for sure.
Yeah.
And that is 100, what was that percentage increase again?
136.
136, and the other one was 172.
So what is Plan One? What's the increase of Plan One? I'm sorry to ask these questions, but when I make this decision, it's gonna affect a lot of people, not just myself, so. Plan.
I think it's,
From the first one to the second.
I'm not sure about percentages, it's 49, so that's gonna definitely play into it.
right, it's 70, hold on. No, I think it's an 86% increase in. You'll check it.
Just gotta use your cheerleader voice, Ian.
At 86%, that's 154.42.
And it
What
could be
is?
87, do to 87%. I couldn't get it, I was going the other way. Need to,
155.25.
okay, it would be 87% increase.
And so what do those numbers look like? The 3049, what's it go to?
That becomes $57.02.
And 3?
I'm sorry, which one?
No, I was
Oh.
making sure.
The 40 cent.
5703?
The 40 cents per acre would be,
75 cents.
the 5253 would be,
$98.23.
Which one was that, Jennifer? I'm
the
sorry.
5253 per
What was the
dwelling
total?
and under single family.
98 what?
23.
98.23.
The RV sites would be,
$2.67.
and the commercial would be,
$38.62.
and that's everything.
Madam Chair.
38.62. That was this one. Commercial.
30, this is 3049.
36.62, that's the last one.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Ms. Davis, is it possible to put together a spreadsheet of what you just did here tonight with each of those scenarios, to share with us?
Yes,
Thank you.
Still have to do it
but you
not to
still have
exceed
to
tonight.
vote and not to exceed tonight.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
So what,
Yes.
Madam Chair?
yes.
So the question here is then, so we know what these numbers look like, briefly right now. And we do have some funds to help offset some of this. And there's some other things that I'm curious about that I'll ask, not tonight, but as far as offset as well. So that gets us back to, where do we want to land on the not to exceed tonight? 172%, that's a lot. I think that's way too much to ask of anyone, myself. So again, we haven't voted on, did we vote on that? We didn't vote, right?
No, sir.
No.
Okay, so I remove my second on that motion.
Excuse me a minute, after it was 136, what was the third percent?
87%.
Okay, thank you. So tonight, guys, we have to choose a plan between Plan 1 through 4 to not to exceed.
So Commissioner Wills, where do you feel comfortable, or do you feel comfortable with a not to exceed number?
Honestly, I'm gonna land on 2. I don't wanna go over that.
Okay.
That's still a huge increase for folks. I know we need the service, and I know what these men do. I see them every day. I'm in the city, I watch them. It's not a question of that, but I also know what all of our other first responders do in our sheriff's department, and we're increasing everything else. So we just gotta be mindful of that. So I mean, that's where I would be tonight, is not to exceed Plan 2. And then hopefully these numbers we have, we can actually meet Plan 2.
Yeah.
But that's still a huge jump for me.
So that's at 136%.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
the strategy on this plan, on this presentation was, these, it could very well be an incremental increase over a period of time. So I would be comfortable setting a not to exceed at Plan 2.
Need a motion, then I need individual votes.
I'll make a motion that we set the not to exceed for West Fire using Plan 2 and those percentages.
Need a second?
Commissioner Iglesias, you,
I'll make a second.
Okay. So motion by Commissioner Howard, second by Commissioner Iglesias, and all in favor not to exceed Plan 2. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion stands.
thank you,
Thank
Ian.
you.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but you've done an amazing job. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Okay.
That brings us back to recreation.
All righty, tonight, we need an alternate for the Small County Coalition. Commissioner Iglesias is already serving on that board, and we need an alternate, so which one of you wants to volunteer?
I'll do it.
Commissioner Atkinson?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
do it if nobody else wants it.
All righty, I don't think we need a vote for that, do we? Do we need a vote? Okay, we need a vote.
I'll make a motion to appoint Commissioner Atkinson as a alternate on the Small County Coalition.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Howard, all in favor?
Aye.
I did again, motion stands.
Thank you.
Oh, God.
The last public item we have before you tonight is Ms. Emily Hunter will present. It is requesting to utilize some opioid funds for our mental health folks, and so I'll let her give you a summary.
For the record, Emily Hunter, Community Relations and Legislative Director. This item is requesting to use a portion of our opioid settlement dollars to help fund 2 positions for the United Way for Mental Health Resource Manager. Currently, the United Way has 1 mental health resource manager on the Clewiston, or the east side of the county. That's been grant funded by the Hanley Foundation. They were hoping to receive more grant funding. Unfortunately, that fell through. So when that occurred, they informed the county, and of course, that's a position that we don't want to see go away. We've looked at utilizing those opioid funds to place an individual on the west side of the county. So we are requesting to help supplement the east coast, or the east side of the county position, as well as requesting an additional position on the west side of the county. Essentially, this individual they work for United Way. But they are an individual who specifically is focused on mental health resources for individuals seeking services, so they help point people in the right direction. On the east side of the county, they're in the sub-office here in Clewiston. On the west side of the county, for right now, they would be located in the United Way House, Resiliency Center. Until we find another location for them. At the moment, we have, I believe, $374,000 in opioid fundings, and it continues for over 17 years. We're looking at about $1.2 million over that 17 years. So again, this is requesting $58,500 that would cover $58,500 for each position.
We would, depending on your vote, bring forward either an amended, we have an existing agreement with United Way. We would either amend that, bring it back to you for these positions, or we could create an additional, some kind of MOU or whatever Matt thinks is proper, outline the duties and expectations for those funds.
Madam Chair, I know Lisa and her team at United Way, they do a great job. I'm just curious as to any reason why Hanley Foundation backed out of supporting that. I'm just wondering.
It wasn't the Hanley Foundation, it was grant funding that they were receiving, so I believe they applied for that grant.
Okay.
And just didn't receive
They
it.
applied for it and just didn't receive
Yes,
it.
so it wasn't the Hanley Foundation so much as the funding
Gotcha. Okay.
source.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Iglesias, second by Commissioner Wells. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion stands.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Emily. At this time, this is a public hearing. At this time, we're gonna go to Mr. Scott Wagner. If you would come up, I know you can't hear me, Mr. Scott. And if you state your name, please, when you come up.
Okay, we loud. Good evening, everyone. My name's Scott Wagner. I am the managing partner investor in the Old Florida RV Park. I sent an email to all of you and along with the officials from the city of LaBelle, and some of you responded, and I appreciate the responses. And I just wanted to come tonight and introduce myself. The project is very large. We've had our hiccups, and as I mentioned in my email, one of our greatest failures at the park this year has been food service. So I have entered into an agreement and a contract to purchase and locate a new 1950s style diner on the front of the property on one of the 4-acre out parcel. This is a project that I've set an end date on, and I do this in most projects of December 20th. We have large groups coming in starting January 1st. A major coup for this county is we were able to snag away the Prevost annual show from West Palm Beach Convention Center and bring it to LaBelle. That's a big deal. But I'm going to be there. I'm going to make sure the food service is correct because, and it's perfect. Because if we don't, this could be the unwinding of us. Because as we're discovering, there are at our park, you have to, when you go out of the entrance, you turn either way. There aren't restaurants nearby. And where we have competition in other areas that have restaurants nearby. So this is right now my largest project. Talking to one of the commissioners from the city of LaBelle, we started talking about housing, and somehow the conversation came up about hotels. So I am researching a Hilton hotel, potentially on one of the out parcels out front, the large out parcel. And as I mentioned in my email, I'm a shareholder partner in several hotels in Pennsylvania, mainly, and we have two actually next to Hershey Park. They are booked all the time, so there's a lot of activity. I mentioned in my email that we have 44 acres at the back of the property, and you would access the back of that property going down Townsend. I believe it's Townsend Road. And so I'd like to start a dialogue about what we could do to potentially make that access road a permanent access road. I mean, I think there's been some conversation, but so we have parcel 2 on the other side of the power lines. We were going to put in 170 pads. We have all the infrastructure, all the sewer, water, everything is in. We have not put streets in, and based on what I'm learning about the market. I think the 170 pads would probably not get a return on investment as the RV park. So we're investigating potentially housing on that property. That's actually 29 acres. The one I'm really sort of excited about is I've been doing a lot of research, and I've been talking to a lot of folks, and especially some of the mothers that we have working at our park, and we're talking about swimming pools, and there aren't a lot of swimming pools nearby. So I got this wild brainstorm that, well, maybe we should put in a water park, and not a Six Flags, but something, that the community can enjoy, and potentially it would be a draw for our park. So I'm not short on ideas. And of course, ideas cost money. But I have a lot of ideas, and I'd like to get input from all of you and figure a way that we can, work together and potentially, bring some different activities, to the county. What I will tell you, and I want to make this comment. So, Jennifer, when I called, I apologize, first name. I called your office last week. I had a lady by the name of Tracy answer the phone. Well, I'll tell you what, Tracy Nobles, and I'm going to tell you something. You have a salesperson at the other end of the phone. Let me tell you something big time. I've attended a lot of meetings over the years, especially being in the garbage business. I probably, with our contracts, probably attended 3,000 or 4,000 meetings. So I appreciate what you're doing. But this lady on the other end, I heard excitement that you don't hear a lot. And so I want to commend you for the excitement and the opportunity to be here tonight. But I just wanted to come tonight and introduce myself and I look forward to, being part of the community and, getting our park off the ground. So with that, thank you very much, and I will say this, my past history sitting at meetings, I appreciate, and many times you aren't appreciated in a position like you are tonight. You're looking at rate increases and, reality's reality, but thank you. If you weren't here doing this, and I heard also about volunteerism, how volunteerism is shifting, in another direction. So I commend you and thank you for what you're doing, and I look forward to, being part of your community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh, and
you.
by the way, I just want to mention, there's a gentleman in the back who is and I'll circulate his name, Scott Schlick is our new manager at the park, and my driver tonight is my wife. Her name's Tracy, so, but anyway, so, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr.
Mr.
Wagner.
Wagner, yeah, we got a couple of comments, if you would stick around a second. Go ahead, Commissioner Howard, I'll go next. I was gonna say, we did get the email, and we're kinda in a situation we can't all respond. But tonight, read the email, I'm pretty excited about all the ideas you have. And you've been through a lot, I know, because I work in the city as well, so, but what you're talking about tonight, we really appreciate, and all the work you've done. You're opening a lot of doors for Hendry County, so we appreciate that, and your investments have not went unnoticed. We do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, Mr. Wagner, I just want to say thank you also for reaching out to us. Didn't respond back for the same reason, but you caught my attention with the hotel. What a tremendous need we have in our community, and so hopefully that can come to fruition. Thank you.
It's a very busy highway, and there are people traveling by.
So I managed a resort and marina here in Clueston for a little over 20 years, and I can tell you that LaBelle needs a hotel. There's no doubt in my mind. Finding the right location is one thing, but I would see 80% occupancy rate right out of the gate. Especially with the contractors that are coming through, you're not going to get really a whole lot of tourists, but there is a need on that 80 corridor. And hopefully somebody will do it, and somebody will do it soon.
We're gonna make it happen.
Definitely get with Mr. Alexander. We need a hotel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And a
you.
water park too. You're amazing, so go ahead.
Well, it's hot out today. I would have taken a dip in the pool. so.
If I might add,
Yes.
this property is essential also for our road out to Wheeler.
Wheeler, that's right.
So, we are working on, we need right-of-way for a road from Highway 80 all the way to Wheeler Estates. It's something that's a priority for the board. So, we would love the opportunity to sit down and talk to you about that with Shane, our county engineer, and myself, and this Commissioner Wills's district, and see what we might be able to do for that as well.
So I have one quick question. What is the status of the reservoir? I keep flying over it, and I see a lot going on. And I'm just curious, like, when the end date, and I'm also, is there, potentially, it's a very large project. And I'd heard from someone that there may be a seepage problem, possibly because of, I guess, the soil or clay. And it's,
I haven't heard that.
so hopefully they're gonna get, because there's a lot, I think that's a massive project, and it will be a great draw.
So this rainy, at the 16 County Coalition, the district spoke about that project, and they're going to start with this rainy season to start filling it. And I understand they're not going to turn a switch on, it's going to fill up. It's going to take a couple of years to happen. But there was no discussion, I haven't heard, you just might have heard that in the rumor mill, but there's a lot of money that's been invested in that project to make sure that there isn't any seepage. So I feel confident there's not going to be that.
Good. Well, it's gonna be it's gonna be an incredible project for the county.
I happened to be in a meeting with Phil Flood in attendance a few weeks ago, and that C-43 come up, and they're turning the corner to the last leg of it. So the encouragement was pretty high there. So.
Good. Super. Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
Thank you. Next, we have Mrs. Taylor.
I don't know if I need a mic. Y'all can hear me?
It's still needed so it can,
Yeah, because I still couldn't hear this mic back there. Good evening, Madam Chair and the Commissioners. Been a while since I visited you all. So I have quite a few things, and I know Jennifer, I've been for the last 3 weeks trying to, 'cause I know you've been real busy trying to get budget stuff. But I hope that you all got an invite in your mail today. Did you? Did you get two? Did you get one for Juneteenth and one for the senior prom?
Yes.
You got two, okay. Well, our Juneteenth, we just want you to know that we are having it, and I want to give a shout out to the Sheriff Department for their stellar support and always supporting us for Juneteenth. We really appreciate them. And just for everybody in the audience, Family Grounds is selling a drink, and we're selling tickets. If you all could stop by, get a drink, and buy a ticket to help support our event, we would really appreciate it. The second thing is the senior prom that I'm telling you about. Tri-City, which is Belgrade, South Bay, and Pahokee, for the last 5 years have had a prom, and they've invited the Clewiston people over. Well, last year, they actually incorporated Clewiston into that process, so now it's Quad City Prom. And this year, Clewiston is hosting it at the John Boy Auditorium on Saturday night from 6 to 10. Elected officials are coming from Palm Beach County, and we would love to have you all come so that you all could be recognized as the dignitaries. Even if you don't stay the entire time, if you could stay through the recognition, we would really appreciate having our own elected officials there with the Palm Beach County commissioners. And we would like to thank you for the donation that you gave to us for help with the prom. It's primarily sponsored with Pahokee, Belgrade, and South Bay, but we thank you. The other thing, when we're talking about seniors, I have a couple in the audience with this, and I don't know if you're aware that Hope Connection has gone down to 2 days providing service for those seniors that have usually been 5 days. And as of today, they understand that those 2 days may go away. Do we, as the county, have any funding for senior citizens for the eastern side of the county? Or do we have any programs that you currently fund for the eastern side of the county for our seniors?
We currently donate to Hope Connections in general, and so they serve both sides of the county. But outside of that, we did something last year separately. There was some event that you had sent over that we approved.
I'll talk to you about that in just a moment.
We
Yeah.
did that.
Right.
And then we donated for this prom event.
Okay. My thing is, Hope Connection is what you was funding, and they sold out to, and I don't think they remember the name of the company that they go to, and they went to 2 days.
Okay.
And as of today, they were frantic that they will have no days.
Okay.
So is there any possibility the county could look at some sign of programming or funding that they could go back to their 5 days or 3 days, or something that
We need to reach out. I wasn't aware of that. I don't know if you all
I
have
was
been
aware of it.
aware of
Yeah.
that. We can reach out to them, and to remind the board, remember the last couple months, we've had 2 different folks that came before the board. Remember that they were looking to get the designation from the state. 2 different organizations, their name off the top of my head escapes me, but they are looking to come to Hendry County, and specifically, some of you asked about both sides of the county, and they said yes, they were willing to have a presence in Clewiston and LaBelle. And so I don't know the timeline on when that'll occur. It's a designation. If they get that designation, then they get money that flows through from the state and federal level to be able to fund them and have that presence here in Hendry County. So we'll also see if we can get a time frame on that and see when that might be
And I'll
occurring.
let you know who I spoke to, so you'll be able to
Okay,
call back.
but we'll reach out to Hope as well in the meantime and see what's going on.
Okay, because they really need, and I know we provide, we pay for recreation for the youth, but I think the seniors have not had the type of participation for the seniors, and that's what we're looking for, to see if there's any way the county can look up and see if there's any programs that could help them have that funding for, and I'm sure they'll certainly appreciate that.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
one question. On the west side and the east side, they cut from 5 days to 2 days?
See, we don't know about the west side. We only know about the east side because they are participants at the program, and they went to 2 days, week of,
That's because
Tuesdays
someone
and
took-
Thursdays only.
It happened because someone took sick, so that's when they cut back. So they're still looking in to see what they're doing. I do know it changed hands, but that's all I got from them. So I'll
You can
give
get us
Jennifer
more
an
And we'll get it,
opportunity.
yeah.
Yeah, and so when they changed hands, it was no longer Hope Connection with the lady that took sick. It was another organization, so she was not a part of that. The third thing is that, I understand there might be concern. Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm very proud that the Harlem Tennis Association is building the first amphitheater in Henry County. And I think we're very proud of that for our community. And I think there was concern that maybe East Rec might have been contributing to it. That is not true in any kind of way. So I just want to dispel.
Who said
I
that?
just want to dispel that East Rec is not contributing.
I can tell you in the conversations we've had about East Rec, that's never been brought up.
Well, I'm just telling you
Okay.
that that's not thing, because since our inception in 1972, we just get sponsorships for things we're doing. And that property that the amphitheater is going on is really U.S. Sugar, but they've given it to us for 99 years. So Harlem Tennis Association is building that amphitheater with sponsorships, and we're doing fundraisers to help get that. And that is going to provide concerts and events for a thing. I want you to put a placemat on your calendar for August the 9th. Hopefully at that time, and the contractor that is doing it, hopefully we'll have everything done by the 9th of August, and we want to have a grand opening with a concert and everything in place. But we would love to have the commission there. So if you could put that on your calendars for right now, we would certainly appreciate that more than anything else. So I think it's an honor that we are going to be able to say historically that we had the first amphitheater in Henry County. The people from Fort Myers are following us, West Palm Beach, and everywhere. So I want you all to be a part of that grand opening. And the last thing is that I know that you all say you got $1.6 million for the Harlem complex, but it's been quite some time. Could we get an update on where we are with that? Because, you know, and I'm saying this to you all after the fact. $1.6 million would have gone a long ways in doing a new building, because that building really needs to be, it's outdated. Even with all the money that you all are going to put into it to renovate it, you just patching it up and repairing it. So I don't know what your use for it is going to be. I haven't followed that. What was the use for it, Commissioner?
I talked about it at the last meeting that I had, community meeting. Yes, we do have the funds, but we just wait. I think we had the contractor, and we working with Jim. But it's the plans that we have for a small business to come in and still yet have the daycare. So, and when I spoke at my meetings a couple of years ago, different ones in the community did not want it to be torn down. They want to keep it as a historical site because they feel that that's the only thing that's left in Harlem. So, and I'm in agreement with them not to tear it down.
And when you say historical, you know, I went to school there, and I think it's very historical, but at some point in our time, the library and the first part of the building that there is probably could have. But that old building with the school itself, you all, taxpayer dollars is just going to really be waste patching it up and things. But I know you all have made a decision to do that, and that's probably what we're going to go with. But I think in the future, I think our community deserves better than a patch up.
I don't think we're gonna patch it up, Ms. Taylor. I think it's gonna be nice whenever they get finished. I don't believe it's gonna be patched.
Well, we're talking about reality here. When you look at that building, the plumbing and everything in it, it's Commissioner Byrd, it's just old and outdated. And I'm praying that when you all finish, that it will be something that we could be proud of. But I'm just saying that, but it's been quite some time now, a couple of years. And I know government is slow because you have to wait on whatever they do, but I would appreciate if you all would just see if we could rush up some stuff to get it done. Thank you so
Thank you,
much
Ms.
for
Taylor.
listening, and I appreciate the work you all done. And I would like to echo what the young man said about Tracy. I talk to Tracy trying to get to Jennifer all the time, and she is a jewel for you all. So I really appreciate you, Tracy.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. This is a public hearing. Anyone else from the public wishes to speak at this
Yeah.
time?
No. So, no, they're not going to speak, but I'll speak on their behalf if that's okay. I'll do that, in, I guess, business by district.
Okay, so no one else at this time. We do have business by district, and now you can move forward.
So during the little break that we had, I was brought to my attention about the cemetery, or the cemeteries. And so, as you guys know, I have been the biggest proponent about getting the cemeteries in a condition that we can say that we're basically proud of, because the conditions that our cemeteries are, they're not. Our team doesn't do a great job on it, but in their defense, it's because they're not able to, because of the knickknacks and the, I want to be politically correct, the knickknacks and flags and anything you can possibly think of that, mementos that are at a cemetery. It makes it very difficult for our staff to maintain in the level they need to. That being said, we finally hired somebody, and they're going through the process of cleaning up sites. And from what I understand, that they are putting items at the foot of the cemetery plot. It was brought to my attention from some constituents that that's been happening. Unfortunately, our process of notifying them hasn't been where I feel that we need to be. So I'm just going to ask, let's make sure that that we come up with a better way of notifying. And I asked, and Mr. Parrish, I'm going to call you out just because I asked you the question of how often you go to the cemetery plot. I've known Mr. Parrish since I was in diapers, and the reality is, he's a handyman that's always going to take care of stuff. He does take care of his cemetery plot of his family members and visits it often. That being said, through the time that he's been out there visiting the cemetery plots, he's hasn't had a sign, is what he said. He hasn't been notified. So I just think we need to do, when we talked about that, Mitchell, that, we knew that once we ripped that Band-Aid off, that we were going to have repercussions. We were going to have upset people. And the idea is, we're never going to make everybody happy, but if we approach it in a certain way and we notify the public, I think, Mr. Parrish, you wouldn't have been as surprised if you would have went there knowing that you would have had time to address the issues were on that plot. Is that safe to say? But would you agree that after I showed you, when I ran back in here and got my laptop, I'm probably the only commissioner that has 72 pictures of a cemetery plot, a cemetery that dates back to March of 2022, because it's been a passion of mine. I want to make sure that everyone's taken care of. But would you agree, after some of the pictures that I showed you, that the county does have a valid point as to why we need to address the cemetery plots, but in the approach that we go by in notifying the family members? And listen, if it's a sign on that cemetery plot for 6 months and they hadn't visited after 6 months, we have to do something. But knowing Mr. Parrish and knowing that he's visited the sites more often and hadn't, I think we just need to do a better job.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So I know for a long time, my sister's been there since 2007.
Go ahead.
We're gonna come back to you.
Go ahead.
We'll come back to you.
So the process has been the same. I did the process for 18 years myself. There's a timestamp picture every time a cemetery lot is marked. We take a picture of it, the sign is put there, there's a card put there with a number on it. Those stay there an average of 60 to 90 days. Did it for 18 years, so I know. If you go back and ask when it was marked, they can give you a picture stamp of the day they marked it, the time it was marked, and the picture and the sign that's on it. So just to help with that's kind of how you get your information back on that. And you can reach out to Alan, he'll get the information. But the problem with that is, even though we mark, and the sign says 30 days, we still give it 60, 90 days. We always do. And we do that simply because a lot of that's fresh. And you tell them when you meet them out there, we tell the folks, you can have this, you can have this, you can have this. We hand them a set of rules and regulations. 18 years I did this. Every time I went back, everything I told them you cannot have was on the lot. And then the problem was, you put nice stuff there and they take it. And it's not the county taking it. We have found stuff in the Glades County Cemetery that was taken from the Ridgelawn Cemetery. The lady came, she was irate, she cussed our face shut. A month later, she come back and said, I found my arrangement, it was in Ortona. And you would sit here and think no one would do that. They do it. We had one in 14 acres that was stealing stuff. They set game cameras out there. We caught them. And again, I did this for 18 years, and it's hard. I can tell you it's hard. When we started moving stuff ourselves, it was really hard, because a lot of the lots are infants. Those are the hard ones. I know our loved ones, I've got loved ones in 14. The infants, that's hard, because that's tough. You got a parent that just lost a child. They just lost his child, and the next thing they'll do is, I want to put a headstone in. We tell them, wait a year. Wait a year to put the headstone in. It will settle, and the headstone will lean. So these are all things we go through. The grave covers, once they put a border around that, they can't go in it. County workers aren't supposed to be in that at all. But here's the problem with that: concrete, granite, or marble, but we get all the little scallop blocks. And then you have the ones that go to Home Depot and they buy the blocks that look like granite, but they're not granite. And again, I worked in them for 18 years, and I can tell you, gentlemen, it's hard. It is hard, and I appreciate your concerns, I do. Because a lot of that stuff is really nice things. And I hate to tell you this, when we went to court with the one out of LaBelle, the family was told, we're sorry, those are abandoned goods. That's what they were told. So when it come down to it, the lady got no charges. The only thing the county was able to do was to trespass her. But again, it's abandoned goods once they do that. So what other process you would use, I don't know, because a lot of them, there's no family here. And when you reach out to the families that's on the lot in this courthouse, they're no longer here. They don't exist, and so it's hard, gentlemen, and I apologize for the stuff you're going through, because I'd have been the one 18 years ago that was doing it, and it's hard.
As much as I hate signs and just putting them everywhere, but what if, I think the cemetery plot itself could be marked.
They
Hey,
are.
You're in violation. Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
telling
It's
you.
a sign about this size, it's red writing, it's about that big, it goes on a stake, it gets put in, and you take a picture of it when you put it in. It time stamps it, date stamps it, and it shows the actual sign on the lot. So that, we do that, that's a big lot, it's a big violation card.
So I will make sure that's being done
Okay.
Yep.
and follow up with everyone and make sure that that process is happening.
Thank you.
So, Madam
I
Chair,
do-
so on the plots for forever, it's always been if there was a solid slab or a border, they were able to put stuff on the inside. Anything that impedes them doing maintenance, mowing, shouldn't be there. And if it is, they should be able to move it. But solar lights, I think that's a very picky thing to point out and not allow them to have. I ride by it every night, every morning. It's always been lit up. Now it's dark.
With that being
So-
said, Commissioner, the lights, so when they weed eat, it hits it and it hits off on somebody, but
Well,
if it's
that's
in. I
if
can
it's
see
by
it was in the-
itself.
Yeah, if it's in the,
Yeah, if it's
what you
within the
call 'em?
border, it should be
Yeah.
allowed. If it's outside and impeding the maintenance, then they should be able to remove anything. If it's on the headstone, you don't mess with it. If there's fake flowers, if they look bad, they remove them. If they look good, they're presentable, they leave them. Long as they're within those borders, that's the way it's always been. I think it should be allowed. And not, for anything emotional or not, that, those people should be able to do what they want to do to those graves.
if it's within the border.
If it's within the
Yeah.
border,
I agree
on a
with you
slab,
that, Yeah.
any of that, I think it should be allowed. Even benches, if it's on a slab, it should be legal, allowable, whatever.
Benches
But
are allowed, but they have to have contractors to bring in. And some people
Yeah.
did come to me in the community, and I introduced them to who would do it for them and who could do it for them. I had gentlemen came with rocks, and I explained about the rocks, and they kind of understood, so I got with Al, and I said, hey, you can do this and you can't do that. It's still touchy, I don't care how you deal with it, and I don't care how you look at it, it's still heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because that's their loved ones. I do know, when I talk with the gentleman that's working there, And we talked about not touching them for a period of time to give them time to grieve, you know, and not remove, even like Mother's Day. He didn't, you know, I told the lady, I said, he's not gonna touch your flowers. I said, you do what you have to do, because my mother's right down the road from you, and he's not gonna touch that. So, it's just getting them to understand, and then are they gonna understand everything? No, and I did talk to them about, I said, I did let them know that I would talk about the lights, because I agree with you, you know, with that. So, but it's some of the little things that causes when the rock hit and it breaks somebody else's headstone, little things like that, you know, so.
And I know you're not gonna make everybody happy, you know, when people are grieving, you know, it's a hard thing to,
Yeah.
you know, make them feel like you're not trying to push them up against the wall.
Yeah.
But, you know, we do have to have a little bit of sympathy for them, and allow them to do stuff to a point, you know, and nobody's gonna have the same, you know, solar lights. Everybody's gonna have something a little different. And I might think one light's tacky and the other one looks good, but, you know, that's what they've decided to put on there. And I think a lot of these things need to be left up to, you know, if they look bad, they get pulled.
And maybe we can revisit, you know, like the lights, it's little things that, and you don't really realize how touchy it is until it's brought
Yeah.
to your attention, because I know I had mine in the, what you call it, Mitch?
I thought,
Inside the border.
I thought we
If you have
did,
inside the coping, if it's inside the coping, the
Coping,
county
yeah,
doesn't touch it.
yeah.
I thought
They
it was
don't touch
that, and if there was like a vase within the headstone that was
They don't
allowed.
touch- Unless the flowers are falling apart, they don't touch those either.
No, but I thought there was a discussion on the, when we had, I thought it was the Felda meeting that when
But
we had,
It was a Felda meeting, but we don't allow lights at all. We don't like,
Oh, okay.
we took out the solar lights.
They've removed lights
So I think that's
Something to
within
revisit.
borders.
probably
Yeah.
a current issue, is that, as you know, we haven't had a cemetery director, and now we do. And so he's doing what the ordinance says.
Correct.
He's doing his job, and he's operating within the confines of the ordinance that the board approved, and it was that Felda meeting, back in
But to support him, Mrs.
I think 2022. But, so if the board's pleasure is for us to go back and re-look at some of those requirements, we would need to update this. You know, we could bring back a staff report with some recommendations and look to update this ordinance. Otherwise, he's operating within.
And just to support him, he is tagging the property before he remove anything, and when he make his round and come back and it's still there,
Then he's
he
removing
puts it at the foot or in the middle of it. He don't get rid of it, but then when he come back again, if it's still there, he
Then-
lays it on the side of the road.
Okay, that's what he should be
Yeah.
doing, okay.
So,
And another thing, gentlemen, if you would, please make sure Commissioner Iglesias gets your lot number. What the lot number is you have in Ridgeline, you know what I'm talking about?
We can look it up.
I'll go
We
out
can
there
look
with
it
you.
up.
Yeah, well, reason I'm saying that is if you get the lot number, then they can find out when it was marked, and that'll be easier
Okay.
for you to find out the information on it. I'd probably guess it if you told me the area after 18 years.
So I'd like to see it come back as an agenda item
okay.
and let people come in and, you know, at least have the discussion and have public input into the situation.
but to be clear, Commissioner Wills, when you're talking about the timestamp photos, you're talking about when the plot was purchased and
Nope.
designated. You're talking about when the item was removed.
When it was
When
marked.
when they
The
were
day it's
notified.
marked.
You
Okay.
mean when they marked it for them to remove?
The day it's marked, you take a picture of that. That gives you the time it was marked, the day it was marked, and it shows the actual marking of the lot.
It's like code enforcement, they come out and they mark your lot. It
Well, I'm
says
gonna tell
have
you this
30
now,
days and-
a lot of them signs get thrown in the dumpster. And again, it's a bad situation, so, but again, there will be a picture of it. It'll tell you the day they did it, the time they did it, and you'll see the sign on the grave. That's part of the process, so. I used to have all them pictures. I'd have swapped you. I don't have them no more.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Iglesias, that's all?
That's all I've got.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of things. One, I wanted to, we're touching on some big subjects here tonight, and what I hope we can do in this, the cemetery thing is one that's teed up like that for another agenda item. I'd like to see the same thing happen with some of the things we talked briefly about or opened the door to, and that's hospital, East Rec, West Rec, Fire. Those are the hard discussions I think we've got ahead of us, but this is the only place we can do it, and we need to keep those things in front of us, and I'll throw one more in there, and that's a steering committee for a future jail. So I just want to share that, and then lastly, to me, it's such a cool thing to see constituents come here and share with us the good experiences they've had with our employees. And like Tracy got tonight, spot on. I appreciate that being done. I'd like to add to that, I have a very, very close family that's getting ready to become Hendry County residents, moving from Lee County. And they did reach out to me, and they wanted to share two experiences they had. One was with Eli in our building department. They had some hiccups in their process of getting their CO and everything that they needed. And Eli took them and fixed everything that needed to be fixed and did it in a timely manner. And they were really appreciative of that. And also, actually in Ms. Pittman's office, Lucia, they really, she really helped them get ready to make that portability come over here to Hendry County. And so that's, to hear that from other people outside our BOCC is a big deal to me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioner Wills?
Yeah, Shane, I reached out earlier about Phillips Road and Wheeler. Have you had a chance to look at that at all yet? Those folks are just burning down my house. Please do. The young lady is quite upset about that, and I get it, because Shane didn't drop the ball on this. I'll say it publicly. I did. We talked about the meeting. It was right around the holidays, and we did not get it put together. Ryan, we talked about the Phillips Road and the Wheeler Estates. That was me. I didn't get that done, so that all comes to me. But if you guys could get that set up sooner rather than later, I'd really appreciate that. And again, when it comes right down to it, the employees do what we set mandate for them to do. And we do have to support them in what they're doing. I did that for years, and it was hard to do something and then the board not support you. So we definitely got to stand behind our employees no matter what it is. You may not like it, but we need to stand at it. As far as revisiting these things, I definitely want to revisit the West Direct situation. I do want to talk about that board. I do want to talk about the going forward of that board or the stopping, whatever the case may be. I want to have that conversation. I want to know what it looks like if we say, you know what, we've decided to go our own way, then this is what it's going to look like for the city of LaBelle and Hendry County. So that's a conversation. The hospital thing, I got a little frustrated and said that, but that's something that's been on my heart for, how long have I been here? Since 16, and I've been chewed since then, and I believe it's something that was time that it comes to the table. It's not going to be a popular conversation, and it's all right. I won't get a Christmas card. I'm good with that. But we definitely got to have the conversation. And again, staff, thank you for all you do. We appreciate you very much. You don't get that very much, but Tommy, you've been spot on with everything I've called you on, and I appreciate it. Mr. Parker, you always are. You're always on point. I can't take nothing there. I'm not sure. I'm kind of not sold on Tracy, but everybody else is amazing, so thank you.
Before I call you, Mr. Atkinson, I'm going to let Ms. Jennifer speak. If you would state your name, please.
Jennifer Atkinson. This is about the cemetery. My daughter was buried there in 2007. At least 3 to 4 times a year, I spent hundreds of dollars decorating her grave for each season. I keep it. That's how I can still do for her. Michael is my son. He's here. I can spend time with him. I can't with her. That's how I show my love to her. I put borders around her grave so I could do what I wanted. They went out and took the lights off of her grave. I was under the understanding, as long as it had coping around that grave, I am responsible to take care of it. I do. When they mow, they could care less. I've went out there and I've cleaned, I can't tell you how many headstones that you couldn't see because the grass was so thick. It needs to be a mulching mower if they're gonna mow. This is ridiculous. It's been going on. I fill up garbage cans, buckets in the back of the trucks, and I haul it out there to clean people's graves and my daughter's because of that. That needs to be changed.
We, first of all, I understand, but we are gonna revisit and try to, we can't fix everything, but some of the things that we can, we are gonna revisit. So, you know, hopefully that with some of the, bringing it back to the ordinance and try to correct some of the things that we don't know, then, you know, hopefully that'll work out. So, it gotta have a proper, roundings around it, and it can't be something that you did, but a contract, if you don't have one, I do have one that Alan has certified to go out and do these things for people that need it. So if we can, I can get with Michael and we can start from there to try to make it according to what the ordinance is, and then as we revisit the ordinance, we'll be able to, you know, try to work out through the things that. Yeah.
Our grave is in ordinance. Everything was permitted when we had it done in 2007. Michael, his brother, and his dad did it with a permit.
So I don't know back then what the legal status was then, but now it have to be a contractor that does it, that's contracted through the county.
We are contractors.
I'm saying, it was back then?
Knows a contractor.
Okay.
Yeah, she knows the guy.
I think we're talking
She's part
maybe
of the
about
GC.
the solar light. Yeah.
It's just the lights period, so if they within, but we're gonna revisit the ordinance and
And
see if we
also,
can't correct some of the things that where your heart is.
And I really think you need to look to the lawnmowers. I mean, the lawnmowers make a lot of mess out there and makes a lot of, I mean, it's just throwing the grass everywhere. So if you have your grave closed in, you go out there and the inside, like I have it all mulched. I change the mulch. I do everything. And you go in there and it's full of grass because they ride right by it and just, I mean, it needs to be a mulching mower, and there's too much stuff there to use a regular mower.
Well, I will say that the young man that's there now has done a much better job than we've had in the past. Of course, seasons are different. It's hard to keep somebody there, and I'll tell you, it's part of, they're not able to maintain the way they need to. Part of the reason is because when they go around those knickknacks, they get berated by people. Oh, you broke my item, you ran over my plant, you did this, and so how do you motivate that person to work? So it's not an easy fix.
I understand that part where, that's why I put the coping around my daughters, because I knew it could not be, if you don't have anything there, you can't just put it in the grass, because they do have to mow. That's why a lot of us have put the coping around. So,
Thank you so much.
I would
and-
like y'all to think about the mower, though.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think that would help a lot in making the graves look better, because that does make them look really bad when they, especially the grass is high now. When they mow it, it's gonna be a mess.
And Ms. Atkins, I promise you, we're trying. We are trying. And it looks bad overall, but they're trying to do every individual, you know, so give us opportunity to work through it and bring the ordinance back.
And maybe, I mean, maybe you could do a flyer and send it out in the mail and give people the rules and stuff, and not just go out there somehow, you know, it may be expensive, but at least some of those people will get that letter that goes out there. And I understand there are some out there that looks horrible.
People beside my mother-in-law's had skeletons hanging from the tree during Halloween.
There's trees
Like,
planted, all that. I don't think you should plant trees. I mean,
But and just think about that, when
Thanks.
someone sees something, they go, oh, I can do whatever I want to do, and it steamrolls. It's not an easy fix, but.
all right, thank you.
But thank you so much. I want to give her the floor first. Commissioner.
Shane, the two road projects on 835 we approved last meeting, do you have any idea when those will start?
No, sir, I don't have an idea. We sent the notice of awards and are working on the contracts and stuff, but don't know. It'll definitely start this year, maybe August, September, probably.
Okay.
And then we issued two other bids, or we're gonna, not yet, but they're fixing to go out for another segment on 835 and one on 78.
Is that the one that's from 833?
It's the one from Saunders Curve to Bloomberg Road,
Okay,
and the one from Kirby Thompson Road through Hidden Hammock
Thank
Curve will
you.
be the next two that go out to bid. Staff's been working on the invitation to bid documents.
okay. And what about the 1 mile section from 833 back? Is that just kind of on the back burner?
Nothing's happened with that. Oh,
Okay.
you're talking about on the south end?
Yeah, coming south.
Yep. We're working on a RFQ for design services.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to bring back up the senior citizens, but Florida B. Thomas Library do a lot with them. I know they're not organization that, like Hope Hops's, but they do a lot with them. The young lady that was over them took sick, so that's why they broke down to 2 days. And then when I saw them the other day, that's when they just told us that they was changing out. So I don't know the name of the organization that's there.
Okay.
So, but I'll get as much information for you as I can.
Reach out and
Right, okay. Appreciate staff for all the hard work they're doing. I'd just like to say thank you. We're going into a new year, and it's just a lot of things that's been done the right way. And I do get upset when somebody say patch, because we don't patch. When I first came in here, the first thing that I talked about was not patching a roof, patching the door, but to, do it the right way. So I hope that staff is not patching, which I know you're not, but I think choice of words when you got somebody working hard to make your community look well and to work on, getting it better, especially when they already was in the seat and know how the process goes. So with that being said, thank you.